Bitcoin is dumping into the weekly close. Are you that surprised? In today's video, I'll be talking about exactly this, going over the most recent Bitcoin price action and what we should be expecting for this upcoming week, as we are likely to get rate cuts, and we'll be going over my most recent trades, namely the Ethereum short that I talked about on Friday. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. First things first, taking a look at the Bitcoin price action, you can see that we are indeed dumping into that weekly close. However, it isn't that significant. Basically just the standard weekend chop, and now we got a little bit of a more aggressive move on the shorter time frames, all the way down to below $88,000. Right now, as I'm recording this video, Bitcoin is just below 89K, but the most important part here is that Ethereum did get the move that we discussed in my previous video on Friday. You can go check that out if you want, but I essentially talked about how I was going to be shorting Ethereum. We entered right around $3,140. Ethereum was looking a little bit heavy, as Bitcoin was also looking a little bit heavy. And so naturally, I went ahead and secured some profits on this most recent short trade, and I am still in my Bitcoin long from the lows. Now this one, I will likely just sit out, let the price action do what it needs to do, because I already secured some pretty significant profits on that long, but it was indeed time to flip short, and I shared it with you on the channel. If you don't believe me, check my previous video. Also, I did share it in my premium group. You can see here that, for example, I went up here taking a short on Ethereum with 1% of my trading portfolio, entry 3,139, stop loss, profit target. And I gave my logic for the trade. I also gave an update on taking more profits on my Bitcoin long, and naturally this Sunday evening, you can see that we did secure some pretty nice profits on this trade. Let's see what the price action gives us here. I would not trust this price action too much going into the weekly close, simply because if we get a pump, they tend to reverse. If we get a dump, maybe that dump can also go ahead and get reversed. But the point is, it was a great risk to reward opportunity. I entered the trade, and now we move on to the next. By the way, if you want to join my free premium group where I share all of my own personal trade setups, you do have the first link in my description down below. You DM me the keyword premium on Telegram, and I'd be happy to onboard you. The only requirement is that you've signed up with one of my affiliate exchange links. You have all of the options down below. I typically do recommend Bluffin because you can get some fantastic bonuses. You can get 100% cash back, and if you are a more seasoned trader and you deposit a little bit higher amounts, you can get VIP access, which reduces your fees on the platform. Would highly recommend. Also, please remember that I am not a financial advisor. Read the disclaimer in the description down below. I'm just a guy on the internet sharing his own crypto insights and his own personal trades. Now, let's get back to the charts. If we take a look at Bitcoin here, yes, we did move lower, but I wouldn't necessarily attribute too much importance to this move. Now, I talked about this in my previous video as well. We have this pretty important support level for Bitcoin, which is right around $84,000. The bulls really want to defend that level. We also could potentially be forming a higher low on this trend line, something to consider. However, if you really do zoom out, guys, the trend is still down. Don't fight the trend. When it was time to catch the falling knife, of course, I went ahead and did it a couple times before I had that profitable trade. But I have to be honest, on any aggressive moves to the upside, I will actually be looking for more shorts in this market. If we start having aggressive moves to the downside and we can go ahead and sweep this low, that's when I would pivot to longs in the market. Don't get married to your positions in the market. You can go long, you can go short, and you can make profits either way. The point is, though, the trend is still very much down, and we are kind of forming a bear flag here. So let's see how this develops. We do not want to start losing this level, and most importantly, $84,000. If we start to lose $84,000, it's highly likely that we will be revisiting these lows once more, which could probably take us sub $80,000. I know a lot of you have actually been waiting for that level, 74K to be exact, because that's actually where we went ahead and bottomed when we had that tariff capitulation event. Honestly, there's not that much to say. Bitcoin is just consolidating. In the meantime, I am still trading this market. If we take a look at Ethereum, we did get rejected from this trend line once more. This was one of the reasons why I went ahead and entered my Ethereum short. It was quite an obvious one, and so now you can see how the price action developed. At this point in time, it's the same scenario for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. You want to see us form a higher low if we are going to get a more significant move to the upside. Now, I don't want to sound too bearish, because there is always a chance that we can go ahead and form a higher low. However, you need to understand that relief rallies can take time, and so can bottoms. We talked about this when Bitcoin did wick all the way down to below $81,000. Bottoms take time to be formed. And although this was an excellent long opportunity, and I have the receipts here, I did go long around that level, it doesn't mean that we cannot revisit those lows to form a more convincing bottom. My base case is this. Bitcoin will likely have a relief rally at some point before it goes ahead and moves lower. I think that relief rally will easily target the 98K region, likely above $100,000. And if we start to hold this level of support, then we can discuss tagging that bull market support band, which is actually above $105,000. However, this can take time. The market will likely be choppy until we go ahead and get that relief rally, and it might not stem from here. We can start the week and end up rolling down into rate cuts, which is something that you do need to consider. Now, it's highly likely that we will get rate cuts, 86.2% chance, but we are seeing a little bit of conflicting numbers. First and foremost, if we go here and we go on the previous week, I wanted to show you something in regards to the Fed's balance sheet. On Friday, the Fed's balance sheet actually got reduced. Now, some of you might be wondering, how is this even possible if they ended quantitative tightening? But there is a little bit of a lagging effect. Remember, the end of quantitative tightening does not mean the beginning of quantitative easing. It doesn't mean that they're just going to start printing unlimited money. I still firmly believe that 2026 will provide some insane buying opportunities for Bitcoin. Until then, I will continue to trade the market that's right in front of me. Going long when I see a local bottom being formed, and going short once we get those aggressive relief rallies and we start to top out. I still firmly believe Bitcoin will make it back above $100,000, but this can certainly take a lot of time to play out, as I've been discussing video after video after video. Now, taking a look at the liquidity, this move to the downside did go ahead and liquidate a lot of aggressive longs in this market, and you can see that some liquidity is getting built up to the upside on the 24-hour time frame. If we go on the 1 month time frame, it might paint a little bit of a clearer picture as to why I think we could be moving higher. Right below that 100K region, you can see that there is some liquidity to be grabbed, and I do think it will be grabbed. We can also talk about Ethereum here, where you can see that on the 2-week time frame, we did grab a significant chunk of liquidity, but there is still some to be built up. Now, this kind of difficult price action for Bitcoin is exactly why I've remained vocal and I've stayed in my most recent Bitcoin dominance long trade. You can see that we entered right around here. I actually entered before October. And so, yes, I've been holding this trade for quite some time, but it is a nice hedge in the market because this kind of price action is very, very tricky to navigate. If we start moving to the upside here, Bitcoin dominance might go ahead and decrease. But as soon as we have a sharp dump, that's when Bitcoin dominance goes ahead and increases. And therefore, I've continued to hold on to this trade. Might take a little bit more profits because I do think that at some point alts will outperform, but just because alts are outperforming Bitcoin, it doesn't mean that they're going up on their dollar valuation. If you don't understand what I mean here, it essentially means that if Bitcoin does go ahead and dump into 2026, altcoins might just dump a little bit less, therefore Bitcoin dominance decreasing. It is something that you have to consider. And taking a look at Coinbase Premium, because we've been talking about this day after day, you can see here that we are still in the green, which is ultimately positive for Bitcoin. But if the Binance selling continues, as we discussed in my previous video, then unfortunately, Bitcoin can go ahead and move lower. So, what is my next move in this market? It's quite difficult to tell you exactly. When I take a trade, I share it within my premium group, but I also come on the channel and share it with you. And I'm pretty content with all of these positions. I'm simply going to hold on to them. All of my stop losses are now at break even. So I can't risk losing any capital, and I've already secured some pretty nice profits on all of these trades. Honestly, if you're not a trader, this probably isn't the best market for you because you could get stuck just holding, hoping for a relief rally. I do think we will get the relief rally, but my point is maybe you want to start pivoting into actively trading this market. Of course, that's just my opinion. You can do whatever you want to do, but in my premium group, I'm sharing my own personal trade setups. There's several days where I don't post any trades, and I only really take trades that I have conviction in. So if you want to know exactly how I'm trading this market, remember you do have the first link in my description down below. Sorry for shilling so much in this video, and sorry for being a little bit more bearish, but at this point in time, this was the dump that I was hoping for to make take some profits on that Ethereum short. I think this week will likely provide a lot of chop going into rate cuts, and so if you're trading this market, make sure you remain vigilant. And that sums up today's quick video. The trades are looking good. Bitcoin continues to chop around. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Don't forget, I have my bluff and leverage trading tutorial right here if that interests you, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.